We live on one of the most beautiful planets in the universe, with a breathtaking array of natural wonders, colorful landscapes, and diverse ecosystems. From majestic mountains, lush forests, thundering waterfalls, to meandering rivers, intricately sculpted rock formations, pastures, fields, and savannas, each home to a rich diversity of indigenous peoples, animals, and plant species. It's a world of unparalleled beauty, and it's a world on the cusp of major transition. We call it progress. Technology will make our lives easier. Smart homes, virtual meetings, instant information, and communication. Everything we want to know available at the touch of a button. But how does this serve us when critical systems like agriculture, medicine, healthcare, and education are collapsing, while stress and loneliness soar? We're more connected than we've ever been, and yet somehow more disconnected. But it doesn't have to be that way. The way I see it, crisis is just another word for opportunity. Instead of trying to prop up the old systems that have been keeping us from knowing the truth about ourselves, we could reimagine our world together and co-create a new story for humanity's future, one that honors the importance of being over having. Over the years, I've met some amazing people along my journey, mostly in harmonics, sound and light therapy, voice analysis, raising consciousness, experts in love, spiritual teachers, scientists, naturopathic doctors, Eastern and Western medicine, all of whom have a piece of the solution. I invite you to come with me on this journey as I travel across the country to meet these leading experts who will share with you what's really going on, how to reclaim our power, how to learn to love ourselves, how to be healthy, and to create a world that works for everyone. Growing up in the Detroit, Michigan area, I always dreamed of making a difference in the world. My parents were everyday working class, and they didn't see the value in going to college. I had to work for the things I wanted. I took my first job at age 14 and put myself through college. 3 careers later, at the age of 37, my dream of making a difference in the world was shattered. Stress got the better of me, and I found myself on the verge of a heart attack. It was a huge wake-up call. It was time for change.
There is no question that we are living in unprecedented times. We're seeing changes on levels that have never really been seen before, in recorded history anyway. I think technology and our dependence on technology today has dulled our awareness of nature, and even more than that, it has dulled our awareness of our inner life and our inner self and the inner power that we have in the material and spiritual world. And as we've gone through our technological advancement, we have moved farther and farther away from the experience of nature and feeling ourselves part of the natural world. We see ourselves as something different and separate, and separation is really the source of what's going wrong in society today.
And we're increasingly being removed from any human-to-human connection. And on top of that, there's exponential everything. There's a total overload. We're in a period of turbulence. We're in the midst of an accelerated collective unraveling.
What we're dealing with right now is not so much that something has gone wrong, as much as we have outgrown the paradigm that we were in. And it's a painful process, but it's part of the evolutionary unfolding of a civilization.
Ancient prophecies from many different cultures have talked about this occurring as a breakdown of old patterns that no longer work anymore, old structures that need to be changed.
Penny, you've seen many changes over the years as a researcher and a teacher. So many of our systems are collapsing. How do you see things unfold from now on as far as health and well-being are concerned?
Well, first, we're going to continue to see a great disconnection from each other. Then eventually we'll start disconnecting from ourselves. Our health and well-being will begin to decline. And we're already seeing that in the data. Our healthcare system just isn't really designed for what's coming.
Right now, we are facing a medical crisis in America and abroad.
Our healthcare system is neither health nor care. A recent Blue Cross and Blue Shield study shows that millennials have higher rates of health conditions than any of their predecessors, and their health is peaking at age 27 before declining. A 2018 study shows that 50% of Americans feel lonely, isolated, or left out. And the Sigma CMO has been quoted as saying that loneliness has the same impact of smoking 12 cigarettes a day, making it more dangerous than obesity. One of the overarching problems in healthcare today is that we're paying for activity, not results. And we've been very successful at generating that activity. Almost 42% of adults are obese. 1 in 5 children are obese. We have a huge crisis with metabolic diseases, heart diseases, cancer. And at the same time, our providers are also sick. They're suffering from burnout and malaise. They're overworked, they're stressed out, and they have a variety of their own physical and mental challenges.
The problem with the medicine of today, what I'll call conventional medicine, is that it's populated by specialists. Unfortunately, when we began to specialize, we began to break up the body into pieces and parts. The result of that has been this fracturing. And that fracturing has resulted in people treating their body like it's a machine. And it's a living, thinking, feeling being that is dynamically evolving and meant to evolve much further.
On a completely physical level, greed is what is wrong. The profit margin, instead of people's health, being more interested in what the shareholders are making, the fact that insurance companies are controlling our healthcare is a big part of it. In this time of crisis, as the healthcare system is under such stress, one of the things that I notice as a naturopathic physician is how many people are now turning to alternatives. And they're turning to alternatives partly because their regular medical providers aren't available. There simply aren't enough of them. And partly they're turning to alternatives because they work better in some ways. I mean, modern medicine is amazing at heroics. If you need a heart transplant, if you have something really wrong, that's the place to go. But if you want to prevent ever being there, then you need the alternatives.
Currently, we're toggling between a system where the sickest patients are seen for 15 minutes every 3 months and a system where the sickest patients are sent home with all sorts of devices that monitor temperature and blood pressure. And all of those things are controlled by AI with telehealth visits. And this has a huge advantage because it helps us to monitor patients to keep them potentially well. And yet at the same time, we're removing the authentic connection between a provider and a patient. We're taking away the ability and the need to be seen, to be known, to be heard, to be felt in person.
I also think medicine doesn't deal with the origins of of where, or the spiritual origins of where illness comes from, which I really believe has to do with isolation. You know, if part of the body is isolated from blood flow, then it dies. If parts of the body are isolated from the nervous system, they die or they lose their organization. When we as members of society are isolated from each other, we die.
I had to find a way to get my health back. I felt that Western medicine had failed me. I had no choice but to figure it out on my own. I went to work and studied every facet of medicine from conventional to alternative. But it wasn't until after sound and light therapy sessions that my severe cardiovascular stress was completely eliminated, along with chronic asthma and 23 years of migraine headaches. It changed my life. We have to learn to listen to our bodies. Sitting in silence and in nature are some ways to do that. It's time to take back our power. After experiencing the results from sound and light therapy, I opened a center to help others. I saw over 20,000 clients in 10 years, thousands of hours researching their concerns to help them find the root cause of what they had going on, and to be a loving resource in their journey. Beautiful souls on journeys with autism, Epstein-Barr, emotional trauma, degenerative diseases, PTS, and just daily stress of life. My next stop was a wonderful wisdom library in Sedona, Arizona, to find out how modern medicine has derailed our journey in search of ultimate health.
Modern medicine today, in my opinion, does not treat the whole individual. They treat the symptom. In order to really heal someone, you have to really look at the mind, the body, the emotions, and bring it into a balance.
Modern medicine has a lot to rediscover from the past. The current modern medicine, Western medicine, is symptom-based. So they're constantly treating symptoms, but they're not looking at the root cause.
From my perspective as a librarian, a historian, looking at ancient philosophies, we have been conditioned out of who we really are. We are unique individuals that are a part of everything that exists outwardly. We have failed to trust our own instincts and innate nature. We've lost the ability to understand our body is the greatest healer. That if you don't listen to the whispers, you get the nudges. And if you don't listen to the nudges, you get the hammer. And the hammer is not necessary. If we do learn to trust our instincts, to trust what we're hearing, we can avoid those diseases. So what I'm doing now is I'm just checking your chakras, see if they're out of balance, just energetically scanning.
In Eastern medicine, chakras are energy centers that can get out of balance and cause disease. Colors and waveforms of instruments can bring the chakras back into balance. This is something that the Eastern world has believed in and used for thousands of years. In addition, each organ and body part has an emotion associated with it. The liver holds anger, the kidneys hold fear, the lungs hold grief. When we listen to our body, it talks to us and lets us know where we need to focus on our health and trauma. Thank you. Ah, it's wonderful. Just what the doctor ordered.
Inherently, every doctor is a healer. I think that's what took them down that path. But in a sense, they're handcuffs in the way that they have to treat people. Number one, they don't have enough time to actually investigate enough to find the root cause of anything. And then when they do, they're actually treating it with a pill.
So medicine has been very focused on pharmaceuticals, which are chemical substrates. And because of that, most of the funding has gone there. But there are other modalities that can improve health and healing in humans that address the other parts of our biological systems. So we need to start expanding our definition of knowledge, because as great as scientific knowledge is and as useful as it is, it doesn't capture everything. There are qualities that we can't measure with science. There are things we can't reduce to parts. There are systems that, when broken apart and measured in small pieces, don't tell the whole story anymore.
So I would really love to see them be able to get to the root cause, and then instead of a drug, we actually treat it with light and sound.
Part of alternative medicine is shifting the frequencies in our physical template in order to shift our physical bodies. And light and sound therapies have been very prominent in that. What I take great encouragement from in the standard medical field is that now they are actually using frequency to disrupt tumor growth. They're using frequency to diagnose nerve pathologies.
We're in a very, very interesting time now with the opening of the knowledge of what sound can do. Medical science is using this same tradition to regenerate heart tissue. For instance, at Stanford University, they're regenerating heart tissue by using specific acoustics. There's no end to what we can do to recreate our reality with the right frequencies and with the natural harmonic frequencies. And that's a key in the application. Not one frequency is going to heal everyone in the same way. It's like trying to give every person the same medicine. It wouldn't work. So we have to study the person, their unique frequencies. Everyone has a symphony of sound.
There is no one size fits all for every person. Frequencies are often measured in hertz, and depending on the person, specific frequencies can be helpful for bringing the body into balance and triggering relaxation.
The medicine of the future is really about light. It's about energy. It's about frequency. It's about sound. It's about using some of the frequencies of Mother Nature, some herbs. We need a paradigm shift in terms of our understanding of ourselves. And that's in process right now, but the medicine of the future will have made that paradigm shift, and that they will understand that the body is a result of the energy pattern that underlies the physical self. And when you fix something at the energetic level, the body naturally repairs itself. If that energy is not good or not coherent or has been corrupted, just like a file on a CD or in your computer, when it's corrupted, then all of the messaging that goes on in the body gets corrupted as well. And things start to break down. Diseases appear, problems appear, and people often try to treat that as just that one little area of the body, when it's really the whole energy system. So those are the factors of the future. The things we do at home are going to be the food and the herbs. When you go to the healer, that's going to be the person who specializes in analyzing or providing the light, the sound, the music, the warmth. Those things change your frequency pattern, and then that changes you, changes the body.
I love being out here in nature. I'm so glad I could introduce you to the bee huts.
And from what I understand, there's a measurable amount of energy that they actually give off just from all the kinetic energy that they create in there.
Yeah, it's so amazing. You want to go inside?
Yes.
If you look in here, You can see the bees and you can hear them and you can smell them, and they're so amazing.
Oh, that's that smell.
Honeycomb kind of smell. It's so beautiful. Why don't you lie up there? I'll leave you in here. Enjoy.
Energy is a frequency and a vibration, and it's everywhere. It's in nature. It's in the rocks. It's in the plants. It's in the animals. It's in us. We are designed to navigate the terrain of subtle energy, to navigate the terrain of these finer frequencies.
Time to wake up, Charles. How was it?
That was amazing. I'm still buzzing.
No pun
It seems like the
intended.
longer I was in there, the more active they got. So the more aroma I started to smell. I could hear them more.
Really, really.
Yeah.
When I've been in here in the summertime and the bees are so active, it's so much fun, and I can smell that smell forever.
If I lived here, I'd be in there every day.
I was able to combine all the knowledge I learned about light, sound, color, and sacred geometric shapes from nature into the development of an immersive sound and light chamber that I lovingly call the Harmonic Egg, in which I'm sitting right now.
One of the challenges, as I see it, of the type of frequency that's being used today in medicine is that is based on the old paradigm of killing off everything that we don't like. And so we present a frequency that will disrupt tumor growth as opposed to presenting a frequency that would support optimal health of the individual. And then the individual's system itself could overcome the tumor.
So the solution to some of this is that we look at the whole living system and that we understand that we can't separate the body from the mind and the spirit. That we start to educate ourselves on real food, hydration, energy, music.
What does it all boil down to? We must go back to trusting ourselves.
And everything we need is in our body. All we have to do is begin to access parts of our body that we have become engineered out of being aware of.
Cymatics is a very interesting science, really. Dr. Emoto really brought it to the public eye, and his photographing water crystals and the different effects, the different emotional states, different language, and the state of love, the effect on the water. So cymatics is basically the pattern that is created in matter by sound frequencies.
Cymatics is a really fascinating area of study that was started by Hans Jenny, who was a scientist in the early 20th century. And what he demonstrated was the way that frequency organizes matter. So frequency, in this case, sound frequency, he demonstrated that different sounds vibrated matter into different shapes, and that if you change the frequency of the sound, the shape would change. And he demonstrated that our three-dimensional reality can be reconstructed by shifting different frequencies. I think that not only does sound frequency do this, but light frequency does it as well. And I might add thought frequency.
Cymatics is the study of how sound affects matter. So in this experiment, we're going to see how sound affects the matter of table salt. So under here is a speaker, and it's actually going to vibrate this diaphragm, and we're vibrating it at the frequency of 417 hertz. So the salt will react as I increase the amplitude here. you're starting to notice the mandala effect on the salt. Water responds the same way to sound in the body.
From an energetic perspective, our health is maintained through the energy templates around us. And those energy templates are created out of frequency. They are a reflection of frequency. So when we use frequency medicines like sound and light and thought, we are assisting a change in our physical body by changing our energetic structures.
I think all healing in terms of sound and light is energy healing. So it's a form of entrainment. You know, the way they teach that in physics is that you have a room full of grandfather clocks. And all the small clocks are doing one thing. The pendulums are all moving, doing their own thing. You put a big grandfather clock in there, you come back in a couple of days, all the small ones have synced with the big one. And that's called rhythmic entrainment. So it's similar to any other kind of energy. The reason it happens is nature wants to reach homeostasis. So if I want to work on the root chakra, I would get a singing bowl or a tuning fork that's tuned to the note C. And in that system, that tuning fork or that singing bowl is the big grandfather clock. It's the dominant frequency. Colors come into the mix in a similar way. It's still a form of rhythmic entrainment. The only difference is with sound, you have air molecules that are moving at a certain frequency that are influencing the chakra. With light, it's photons moving at a certain frequency that is influencing the chakra. Sound affects water in the body because water responds to intention. And intention can actually travel through sound. Dr. Moto experimented on how the water is affected by intention. So he would have two plants, and he would write, I love you on one, and I hate you, I want you to die on the other one. And he would get up and say, I love you to one plant, I hate you, I want you to die to the other plant. They would get the same amount of food, same amount of sunlight. Well, the plants don't have ears, so they're not hearing you. It's the water in the plant that's responding to the intention. And that is why one plant that he says, I love you to, will thrive, the other one will actually die. In fact, we have a tradition of blessing our food. There's a science behind that.
The science of sound is the science of life. It's integral to life itself. If we begin to acknowledge the power of sound to bring unity, to have non-invasive forms of medicine, to treat the soul like the Asclepian traditions were doing thousands of years ago.
I've traveled all over the world and found many references to sound, light, and frequency healing. We are vibrational beings of light from Source, from God. We've lost the ancient traditions of our past. I have found it so fascinating to study Ani Williams' work, to say, oh my gosh, if you're missing the tone of E, you could have lung issues, emphysema issues, asthma, allergies. I think it's just fascinating about the missing tones from your voice, and what if you could fix something by just replenishing a tone? A voice analysis can find the missing musical tones that correspond to specific weaknesses in the body, as well as emotions.
Certain organs correlate to the waveform characteristics of certain instruments. For instance, the liver correlates with the sound of the flute and the waveform characteristics of the flute. And then there's drums. Drums work well on your lower chakras, things that are governed by your root chakra. Instruments have been used for health devices for centuries.
I use a natural harmonic sound, the sound of overtone chanting, the Australian didgeridoo, which has been used in sound therapy for perhaps 40,000 years. The harp, which has been used in therapeutic settings for thousands of years, going back to Pythagoras and the Asclepian temples. But what I found is working better and more effectively is using natural harmonic instruments and the human voice. It is the only living instrument that exists. Using the voice is one of the most direct things that we can do to heal ourselves. And simply the act of sighing, naturally, connecting the voice with the emotion. This is something that we have lost because we're told, don't do this, don't cry now, don't laugh now, don't be too noisy. And that connection between sound, the voice, and emotion is one of the keys to healing.
Your own voice can be used to heal as well. So there are a lot of modalities where they tell you to talk to your body, talk to your organs, talk to your cells.
Many times people believe that there's limitations. Science often tells us this is the limits we can achieve. But when you are in a environment, as I have here, and you're able to read individuals, men and women of the past, we learn of many people who far surpass limitations.
I think it's so cool. Eastern medicine, Western medicine, complementary medicine. You know, people have all these names for it, but yet it's just listening to your body and trying to determine what does your body need next, instead of going to the doctor and say, what do I need? How do I take this? How much do I take? I want people to go to the doctor and say, I think this is going on. Can you test this? Or I've tried this or that, and can you help me with this? So they're more of a team player instead of the director of your life or your health.
There's an interesting conversation that I'm hearing now. You guys saw this young man, he's an emergency room MD in Philly. And that conversation is he's trying to get traditional medicine seen as complementary medicine and energy medicine seen as primary medicine. So his thing is you should have tried yoga, meditation, breath work, energy medicine, whatever, before you come to the doctor and ask for a pill. So all of that should have failed by the time you come to me and ask me for a pill. He's an ER doctor. He's pulling bullets out of people on the table. And he's even thinking, why is this person here? Could there have been some kind of spiritual intervention that would kept them from lying on this table and me pulling this bullet out of them? And that's a whole new paradigm. And this is coming from an actual doctor.
I love it.
A beautiful example is working with one of my first autistic clients. He was 5 years old, and he was incredibly hyperactive, speaking gibberish, and the parents were really stressed out. So everyone was stressed out. But I was able to get a voice analysis. So I sat down at the harp, and I just started playing, matching his activity with the music, and then slowed it down. He came over to the harp and began to play a duet with me. He'd never seen a harp. He came up to me, kissed me on the cheek afterwards, and said, harp. So his parents got him an instrument. He began communicating intelligently, thriving and flowering.
In 1986, I graduated with my master's degree in speech pathology, and at the time, there were 1 in 10,000 children diagnosed with autism. 1 in 10,000. So as we move ahead to now, we're at about 1 in 43 children diagnosed with autism. Parents and caregivers of children diagnosed with autism have a really hard road of it. None of us get a manual when we have a child, but if you have a child who shows up completely different than any other child, it's a hard road for those parents. About 2 months ago, Jackson was at his day program, and his mother went to pick him up. And when she went to pick him up, Jackson verbally said, Susie. And his mother freaked out, flipped out, and got his board and said, what's that about? He typed out, I'd like to practice speaking.
Susie. I love life, Susie.
There we go. I cried. And I've been waiting a long time for that, actually. Might cry again.
I am happy. Good.
No, that's it. That's it. It just hit me. A new world is being born here, and if you want to survive and thrive, then you have to become a new human. And we cannot do this without assessing who we are and how we want our lives to be. That's critical. That means you have to think differently. You have to make different assumptions about reality. You have to make different alignments in terms of what you're willing to support and what you're not willing to support. There's a whole different mindset. There are different actions.
How do we shift into this new paradigm? How do we make transformation happen? And I think about Einstein and how his statement that we can't solve the problems of today using the same mindset that created the problems. And I think of Teoka's Ghost Horse, who said that we can't wake up with the same language that put us to sleep. And so then I think we have the answer to the whole thing. We need to shift into a new mindset, and we can only do that with a new language. And that language is the language of energy, I believe, because that language is the language of nature, and nature is the fundamental reality. Communication is one of the most difficult challenges we're facing right now, because the words that we use are coded with our beliefs and our experiences and the different teachings that we've learned through the ages from religion and society. It's part of the social engineering of our mind. And so in order to really be able to discern what is true and what is real in the communications that we have, we almost need another language, a language that hasn't been coded with all of the trauma of our society and our own personal experience. I believe that that language comes from nature and is the language of subtle energy. It is a language that every culture, every person, every animal, every tree can speak within, and we receive it through our body, a designed way. We are created in a way that receives this subtle energy information and decodes it and translates it into a communication we can all participate in.
To create a new paradigm, it's vital that we regain control of the stories we're telling ourselves because they're shaping our future. We have to remember our inspiration, we have to heal our pain, and we have to connect to each other like never before.
Life is an exquisite opportunity. Let's not waste a moment of it hating. We are all an interconnected one. Every spiritual tradition has said from forever, we are all one. Here's the bottom line. We are all connected. And in this transition underway, all of us makes it or none of us do.
If we can begin to use our voices to connect with our authentic feelings, we can transform ourselves and the world around us.
If we wanted to create a more nurturing society as a whole, I think one of the main things we need to actually increase in all of us is compassion. We need to be more compassionate and understand that we are all one. Our energies are intertwined all the time.
We need to embrace the idea that we don't evolve alone. We are relational creatures. Everything is through relationship, whether it's relationship to ourselves, to others, or to our environment. We are completely interconnected with everything.
We've lost the art of gathering. People are desperate for community. Everybody wants to be part of something.
It was Plato that said, "It is not about learning anything new. We're here to remember what we already know."
All these books tell so many stories.
Yes.
And how many of these stories do we need to unlearn?
Right.
Because we've learned the wrong thing or things have changed, as you were saying.
Exactly. In as many of these modern books are just rehashing therapies, techniques, visualizations that the ancients spoke about.
We create a new world by creating a new world within ourselves. If you want peace, you go to peace inside. You cultivate peace inside. If you want love, you cultivate love inside. And I'm also convinced at this stage of the game that because each one of us is part of a unified field, we're all part of a unified whole. Every single time that we do something that is more loving, kind, supportive internally, that has a ripple effect. If you have an intention, if you pair that with love, and if you can get somebody else to join in that intention in love with you, I really believe there's nothing that can't be done.
You get to learn so much from these kids. It's so exciting.
It's an awesome experience, I gotta say. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I just love you.
Thank you. I love you too. I want to hug you now.
Intention plays a very important part of the healing. We're electromagnetic beings. Intention is electric. Your emotion is magnetic. So I always tell my clients, you set an intention. You're literally creating a timeline. In order to make yourself a vibrational match for that timeline, I ask them, have an intention, and what does it feel like?
To create a new paradigm, a new reality for humanity, we need to utilize our attention in a very intentional way. We have to know what we're focusing for and make that happen in every moment. The point of power is in the present moment. We can't go back and change the past. We can't move into the future before it's happened. The future is created out of the decisions that we're making right here and right now.
One thing that you said that really caught my attention is that you said you were disconnected.
Yes, I feel like I was much more connected before I started getting trained in deep, hardcore science.
The education system seems designed to disconnect us from Source, from God. There's an absence of everything our children need to know about becoming a good human, a good parent, a good citizen. Important life skills and values like how to communicate, how to grow our own food, and how to think versus being told what to think. It's time for more love in the world.
There are no mistakes. We are not here by accident. We were born for this time. We were born to be participating in this transformation. So let's take the leap into greater awareness. Let's take the leap with love, with kindness, with compassion.
Relationships are hard. Belonging may be even harder. And yet the quantum leap in our own evolution happens when we truly participate in community.
What is love? I think it's going beyond this illusion of separation.
The secret of all manifestation is to use higher laws. The highest law is love.
Love. The journey of life is moving from the love of power to the power of love. When I think about love, I think of Whitney Houston's song, The Greatest Love of All. And she sings, the greatest love of all is learning to love yourself. That's the greatest love of all. We can't do me without we.
Love is that which unifies.
Love is a force. It's a magnetic, attractive force. It's what holds the body together. It's the core of every individual.
To me, love comes back to that core component of being human. We are biologically programmed for connection, attachment, and love.
I believe love is a collective. It is a collective energy. I think that is the root of what everything is.
The role of love in self-healing is really everything.
What you said was really, really interesting about
The power of love. What did you say? I said that the journey of life is moving from the love of power to the power of love. I like that. I think it would dramatically change our world. 100%. Hands down. And we do that, we come into community in a different way, and then we can heal because we don't heal in isolation. Right? So if we learn to love ourselves, we can do that together because we need each other to then be able to heal together, right? I love it.
I wanted to make this film because both my parents died from unnecessary medical errors. Much of that generation never questioned medical authority, and it killed them. That's why I'm passionate about helping people understand that knowledge is power. There are many roads to healing, and the more choices we have, the easier it is to manage our own well-being. I've been blessed with wonderful opportunities to educate myself, change my lifestyle, and use my success to give back to my community and help others. I've seen amazing transformations with the unique energies of the Harmonic Egg. It's made me realize that if everyone knew more about these ancient technologies and how to cultivate our relationship with nature, creating a new paradigm would be our priority. But I am just one person. How can I make a difference? How many times do we hear that? Well, one person stands up with another and another. Pretty soon we have an army, a tsunami of people who are actively paying attention, sharing the same vision, and holding the same intention. That's how we individually and collectively change the world.